She entered their home as a nanny. But what she truly came for was destruction. By the time they realized the truth, it was almost too late. A story by Nanny. In the ancient town of Kuda Village, where moonlight was believed to carry messages from the ancestors and elders spoke in riddles, lived a respected man named Chief Obi and his wife, Amara. Chief Obi had land, titles, and wealth, but for 7 painful years, his compound echoed with silence, no child's laughter, no tiny footsteps on red earth, no midnight cries. At first, the villagers waited patiently, then they whispered, soon. They mocked, women laughed behind Amara's back. Children pointed at her, some villagers openly called her barren, others created darker stories. They said she was cursed, they said the gods had sealed her womb, some even whispered that she was a witch. And then a name from the past returned, Chika. Before marrying Amara, Chief Obi had once loved Chika, his childhood companion. They had planned a future together, but when the time came, Chief Obi chose another woman. He chose Amara. Heartbroken and bitter, Chika left Kuda Village, swearing angrily, "You will never know peace." So when Amara failed to conceive, the villagers nodded knowingly. Chika's curse, they said, the past has caught up with him. But then, during a strange season when the harmattan wind arrived earlier than usual, everything changed. Amara conceived, her belly grew, her shame turned to pride. Those who mocked her now congratulated her. When the time came, she gave birth to a strong, healthy baby boy. He cried loudly, he breathed normally, he kicked and moved with strength. Doctors examined the child carefully and declared him perfectly healthy. Joy flooded Chief Obi's compound, drums were beaten, cows were slaughtered, palm wine flowed freely. Chief Obi has a son. Mother and child were discharged from the hospital and brought home in celebration. Days passed, the baby laughed easily, he smiled at faces, he played in his mother's arms. There was no sickness, no weakness, no sign of trouble. Chief Obi believed his troubles were finally over, but far away, in another village, Chika heard the news. Chief Obi had a son. She smiled slowly. So peace has finally entered his house, she whispered. Let me be the one to take it away. And in Kuda Village, unaware of what was coming, Chief Obi and Amara began searching for help. A nanny, when Amara returned home with her son, Chidi, her joy was full, but her strength was not. Motherhood came with sleepless nights. Chief Obi's duties kept him away for long hours. The big compound suddenly felt overwhelming. They needed help, so Chief Obi sent word across Kuda Village and neighboring villages. We need a nanny, he said, someone patient, clean, and trustworthy. Days passed, then one afternoon, a woman arrived at the gate. She introduced herself as Ebube. She was modestly dressed, calm in speech, and carried herself with humility. Her eyes were gentle, her voice soft. No one would have guessed she was Chika. She had changed her name, changed her appearance, and hidden her past behind a carefully crafted smile. Some said it was disguise, others would later say it was something deeper than juju. When Chief Obi asked her questions, she answered respectfully. When Amara asked about childcare, she spoke with confidence. She cooked a simple meal when tested, and it was perfect. She bathed Chidi with care. She sang softly while rocking him. The baby smiled. Amara's heart softened immediately. She has a good spirit, she told her husband. The records Ebu presented showed years of experience, names of families she had worked for, references that could not be traced. Everything looked right, too right. They wasted no time. Ebu was employed. From the first day, she worked tirelessly. When Chidi cried, she was already there. When he was hungry, his food came on time. When he laughed, she laughed with him. She slept lightly. She woke early. She never complained. Slowly, trust grew. Amara began to rest again. Chief Obi focused on his affairs with peace of mind. Sometimes they would leave the house together, returning hours later, and everything would be calm. Ebu would smile and say, he slept well. He ate happily. He missed you. Chidi grew fond of her. He reached for her arms. He laughed when she sang. He clapped when she entered the room. The house felt complete. But at night, when everyone slept, Ebu would walk quietly through the compound. She listened. She observed. She learned. She learned the weak points of the house. The silence between husband and wife, the fears Amara never spoke aloud, and sometimes, alone in her room, she would whisper, trust comes before ruin. But no one heard her, not yet. Time passed in Chief Obi's compound, and life began to feel easy, too easy. With Ebube in the house, Amara slept better, her strength returned, her smile came more often. Chief Obi, relieved, praised the nanny openly. "This woman is a blessing," he said one evening. "She came when we needed help the most." Ebu bowed her head humbly, but behind her lowered eyes, something dark stirred. She had not come to serve, she had come to destroy. Slowly, carefully, she began to plant seeds, so small no one noticed. When Chief Obi was home, Ebu made sure the house was spotless. Food was always ready on time. She spoke softly, respectfully. She never crossed boundaries. She never appeared improper. Instead, she made Amara look careless and lazy before Chief Obi. "Madam must be tired," Ebu would say gently. "Let me handle it." When Amara forgot something, Ebu remembered. When Amara was overwhelmed, Ebu remained calm. Comparison began to grow silently. At night, when Amara confided her fears, Ebu listened carefully. "I'm afraid of losing him," Amara once whispered, "after everything we've been through." Ebu nodded, storing every word like a weapon, and sometimes, alone in her room, she spoke to herself, first the trust, then the distance, then the fall. Her plans were clear. She wanted everything: the man, the house, the respect, and when the time was right, the child is the perfect bait she will use to destroy them. But she knew better than to rush, so she waited, and watched, and smiled. One evening, as Ebu rocked Chidi, she whispered, "You are the key to all of this." The baby laughed, innocent and unaware. No home collapses suddenly. It begins with small cracks, quiet ones. At first, life in Chief Obi's compound still looked peaceful, but beneath the calm surface, something had begun to rot. It started in the kitchen. Amara had always been known as a good cook. Her meals once brought smiles to her husband's face, but suddenly, things began to change. One evening, after a long day, Chief Obi tasted his food and frowned. "Why is this food so salty?" he asked. Amara froze. "Salty?" she repeated. "I cooked it the same way I always do." Before the tension could grow, Ebu rushed in. "Oh dear," she said gently, "maybe madam is tired. Let me help." She took the plate of food away and returned shortly after with another hot Nigerian jollof rice. Chief Obi ate, his face softened. "This is better," he said, "much better." Amara said nothing. The next time, the food was too spicy. Another day, it tasted wrong again. Each time, Ebu stepped in, calm, helpful, understanding. Each time, Chief Obi praised her. Slowly, Amara's confidence began to fade. She started doubting herself. "Maybe I'm tired," she whispered one night. Ebu smiled quietly, but the kitchen was only the beginning. Soon, Chidi began to change. After feeding, he would cry longer than usual. He would become restless. Sometimes he refused to sleep. The healer said it was nothing serious. Children fall sick, they said, but something strange followed. Whenever Amara reached for him, Chidi turned away. He cried harder in her arms. Yet the moment Ebu carried him, he calmed, he smiled, he rested his head on her chest. People noticed. "The child prefers the nanny," they said. "Maybe the mother is too harsh and mean." Amara's heart broke quietly. She watched her own child pull away from her, not knowing why. Ebu had become the comforter, the problem solver, the one who understood everyone. At night, alone in her room, Ebu whispered into the darkness, one by one, "I will take everything from you." Amara could no longer ignore it. Something was wrong. From the outside, her home still looked perfect. The nanny was diligent, the house was clean, meals were always ready. Yet inside her heart, peace had vanished. Her husband no longer praised her food. He preferred Ebu's meals, and said it openly. "She understands my taste better," Chief Obi once said casually. The words cut deep. Her son, Chidi, no longer reached for her the way he used to, when Amara stretched out her arms. The child turned away. He cried harder in her presence, but the moment Ebu carried him, he relaxed, he smiled, he slept. Amara felt like a stranger in her own house. At night, she lay awake asking herself painful questions. Am I the problem? Have I failed as a wife? Have I failed as a mother? She began to withdraw. She spoke less. She cried silently. Then strange things began to happen. Money started disappearing. Chief Obi would keep the money safely, only to find it missing later. When he asked questions, no one knew anything. One evening, as they searched the house, the money was found inside Amara's bag. Her heart stopped. "I didn't take your money," she cried. Chief Obi stared at her, confused and disappointed. Before suspicion could grow, Ebu stepped in quickly. "Maybe madam forgot," she said gently. "These things happen when someone is stressed." Amara wept in shame, but inside her spirit, she knew something was wrong. This was not a coincidence. Days later, it happened again. More money, same place, same confusion, same gentle rescue by Abub. Slowly, trust began to slip from Amara's hands. Her husband now looks at her like a thief. Even the villagers started whispering, Amara has changed. She is careless. She is no longer herself. No wonder her child refuses her. And then Chidi's condition worsened. The once lively child became weaker. He cried often. He grew thinner. Yet whenever Amara raised a concern, Abub dismissed it calmly. Children go through phases, she said. There is nothing to worry about. But a mother's heart knows. One afternoon, as Amara sat alone by the roadside, an old man passing by stopped suddenly. He looked at her long and hard. Then he said quietly, be careful of what you allow into your home. Not every helper comes with good intentions. Before she could ask questions, the old man walked away. Fear crept into her bones. That night, Amara watched Abub closely for the first time. The way she smiled, the way she acts, the way she always seemed to be one step ahead. And for the first time since Abub entered her home, Amara whispered to herself, this woman is not who she claims to be. But the question remained, would anyone believe her? When a woman begins to see the truth, the enemy becomes more dangerous. Amara could no longer endure it. Her home no longer felt like hers. Her husband no longer listened. Her child was slipping away before her eyes. So one morning, before the sun fully rose, she wrapped her shawl tightly and left the compound quietly. She went to a place women only visited as a last resort, the shrine of a diviner, hidden beyond the forest path. The old diviner listened without interruption as Amara spoke about the nanny, the child, the strange changes, the shame, the fear. When she finished, the old man closed his eyes. A long silence followed. Then he spoke, the woman in your house is not who she claims to be. She came with a name that is not hers. She came to take what you love. Amara trembled. She wants your home. She wants your husband. And the child. The diviner paused. The child is the price. Fear wrapped itself around Amara's heart. She returned home shaking, but determined. That evening, she told her husband everything, about the diviner, about the warning, about Abub. She must leave this house, Amara said firmly. She is deceiving us. Chief Obi stared at her in disbelief. Then he laughed, bitterly. So now you've turned to superstition. He snapped, because you're jealous the nanny is better than you. Amara felt her heart crack, jealous. She whispered, of the woman taking my place. Chief Obi's voice rose. Abub has done nothing but help this family. She takes care of the child better than you. She keeps this house running. The words burned. Abub stood quietly nearby, pretending to care. I never meant to cause trouble, she said softly. If madam wants me to leave, I will go. Chief Obi turned sharply to his wife. Enough. This jealousy must stop or you leave. That night, the house split in two, husband against wife, trust against truth, and somewhere in the darkness, Abub smiled. Later, alone in her room, she whispered, you are losing everything. Just as I planned. And Lolo Amara knelt beside her bed, praying that she had not spoken too late. By the time Chief Obi truly accepted that something was wrong, the house was already sinking. Chidi no longer laughed, no longer kicked his tiny feet in excitement. His body felt light, too light, fragile. Weak. Almost like he was feeding. He barely moved. When food was brought to him, he turned his face away. When water touched his lips, he cried softly and turned aside. Fear wrapped itself around Amara's heart. They summoned the diviner. After examining the child carefully, the diviner shook his head slowly. Medically, he said, this child is fine. There is nothing in his body that explains this illness. Amara's chest tightened. Then the diviner added quietly, you must also look beyond the physical. Before anyone could respond, Abub stepped forward sharply. No, she said quickly, there is no need for that. He is only tired. Children grow. This will pass. Her voice was calm, but Amara noticed something else beneath it. Evil. Amara stood up. No, she said firmly, my child is dying before my eyes. If anything happens to him, the blood will not be on my head. Chief Obi frowned. Amara turned to him, her eyes filled with tears and fire. If she has nothing to hide, she said, pointing gently toward Abub, then why is she afraid of the spiritual route? Chidi is my child. I have every right to fight for him. The room went silent. Chief Obi hesitated. Then nodded, called the chief priest. That night, before dawn, something happened. Amara could not sleep. A strange unease pulled her from her mouth. As she walked toward Chidi's room, she heard a low sound, not a cry. Not a song. A whisper. She peeped through the door. Ebiub was there, holding something close to Chidi's head, murmuring words Amara could not understand. Amara's heart slammed violently. Jesus. She gasped. Ebiub froze. Amara ran. She burst into Chief Obi's room, shaking. She is doing something to our child, she cried. Chief rushed back with her, but when they entered the room, Ebiub was standing quietly. Chidi lay still. No bow, no strange item, no whisper, nothing. Ebiub looked up calmly. Madam, she said softly, you must be having eye issues. Amara felt her legs weaken. By morning, Chidi collapsed completely. He could no longer eat. He could no longer move. That was when the chief priest arrived. The man was old, his eyes sharp like they had seen too much. He examined Chidi. Suddenly, he screamed, wonder shall never end. Everyone jumped. The chief priest stood up slowly, his voice shaking. This child is not sick in the body, he said. He has been feeding on evil energy. The room exploded in confusion. The chief priest turned sharply, his eyes locked on Ebiub. She stepped back instinctively. This child has been poisoned, he continued, not with hands, but with dark powers. Ebiub shook her head. Lies. She shouted, all lies. The chief priest raised his staff slightly. Your name, he said calmly, is not Ebiub. The air froze. Your name is Chika. The name struck Chief Obi like thunder. Chika, his past, his mistake, his abandoned promise. Ebiub screamed, her calm shattered. Yes. She roared, my name is Chika. Her voice cracked with rage. You ruined my life. You chose her over me. So I chose to destroy everything you love. Chief Obi dropped to his knees. Everything finally made sense. Every warning, every argument, every tear he ignored. He looked at Amara, and saw the pain he had refused to believe. He looked at his son, and saw death standing too close. What have I done? He whispered. Chika laughed bitterly. Too late. The chief priest's face darkened. The poison has gone far, he said gravely. This child stands at the edge. The village fell silent. Judgment had arrived, and now, a price would be demanded. The night did not end after the truth was exposed. In Kuda Village, truth never slept alone. The chief priest ordered everyone out of the inner room. What I am about to do, he warned, does not welcome fear or doubt. Chief Obi stood outside, shaking. Amara sat on the floor, holding Chidi's wrapper, pacing back and forth, whispering prayers she barely remembered. Inside the room, the chief priest walked. He spoke to the ancestors. He called the earth to witness. He confronted the evil that had been fed into an innocent child. Hours passed. At dawn, the chief priest emerged. Sweat covered his face. The child lives, he said quietly. Amara screamed and collapsed in tears. But his voice hardened, however. Wickedness does not live without punishment. Chika, once called Ebiub, was brought forward. She stood defiant at first. I did what I did, she said coldly, and I regret nothing. The chief priest looked at her with pity. You are not born evil, he said, you chose it. He turned to Chief Obi. This woman entered your home through a door you left open in your past. Chief lowered his head. The herbalist raised his staff slightly. Chika, he declared, you sought to destroy a home, steal a destiny, and erase a child. Therefore, the wind shifted, the villagers gathered. You will leave this land, he said, and wherever you go, peace will refuse you. You will walk, but never settle. You will speak, but never be believed. And the same loneliness you planted will follow you. Chika laughed. Then suddenly stopped. I will return very soon. Then she ran away. The chief priest did not raise his voice. May trouble chase after you. By sunrise, Chika was gone. No one saw her ever again. Inside the house, Chidi breathed, weak, but alive. Days passed. Slowly, Chidi began to drink. Slowly, his eyes followed his mother again. Slowly, his fingers held Amara's hand. But the house was not the same. Chief Obi stood before Amara one evening. I failed you, he said. I failed our son. If you choose to leave, I will not stop you. Amara looked at him. Her voice was calm, but firm. Healing takes time, she said. Trust takes longer. Chief nodded. The house began again, not with joy, but with truth. And somewhere beyond Kuda Village, a woman named Chika wandered like a ghost in the forest, a reminder that evil never escapes its shadow. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe, like and comment for more stories.